Okay, welcome to our last session, the Great KLF Debate. Will AI take over Betterment or Detriment? This session will be moderated by Mr. James Neish, ace journalist, moderator, and host. Over to you, James.
Thank you very much, and good evening. Thank you for joining us. It's been such a fascinating Karachi Literature Festival, and we're here to talk all things AI. Before we start, you've been given a QR code. We are asking you to vote, and later on in the session, we're also going to give you a chance to ask any questions of our fantastic panel here today. So AI is really no longer a concept of the future. It's here. We use it every single day. It promises innovation, but there are also many questions around it. So will AI take over the future? It's one of the questions we're going to pose. And we're also asking you to vote on whether you feel that AI is a betterment or a detriment to our lives. And we'll be going through those in a minute. But let me welcome our fantastic panel here today. We've got the Chief Executive of Dolan's, Umar Ahsan Khan. Thank you very much. Faiza Yousuf, she's the founder of Women in Tech in Pakistan. Also with us today is Faisal Mushtaq. He's the Chair and Chief Executive of Millennium Education Group, and Pervez Hoodbhoy, who's having a very busy day. He was also in one of the panels here earlier. He's a nuclear physicist and education reform advocate. So plenty to discuss. We only have an hour. Let's just start by asking the panel on AI generally as an introduction. Where do you sit? Let's start with you, Umar.
Thank you, James. Good to be here. I think I'd like to start by reframing the question slightly, and just to get the conversation.
We're already disagreeing, and we haven't started.
I don't think it's actually about AI versus humans. In my view, it's the question that we really need to ask ourselves is whether it's human with AI and how we choose to use AI. I'm not worried about machines becoming very capable. I think what AI is capable of doing is bringing out the true capability of humans, provided we use it the way it's supposed to be used. And that's precisely why when I'm talking to people in my organization and generally outside, I actually call AI augmented intelligence. Because I believe that AI today can augment the capability of humans and not challenge our capability on accountability and judgment.
So in a nutshell, you are positive
I'm very
about
positive.
AI.
Yes.
Okay, Faiza.
I work in tech, so of course, I think that there's no way that we can escape AI, but at the same time, human oversight is something that is needed all the time and used with caution and making sure that it is placed in the right environment where humans are still, making most of the decisions is really important. So of course, yes for AI, but with a lot of caveats.
Faisal? That's on.
Hello. So thank you. For me, when intelligence becomes artificial, preserving human judgment and empathy is not optional, it is essential. So as we move onwards, I do see AI as not just as an enabler, as a promoter of productivity, global efficiency, and global growth. At the same time, I deal with it with a lot of caution because this is a capitalist manifestation of a global order which create technologies and tools to humiliate humanity. And we have seen that over the decades, starting from personal computers to the dot-com bubble, to the rise of the internet, and then to NFTs and cryptos, and very recently with AI. So I have a cautious yet an inclusive approach that why machines should not replace the human mind.
Pervez?
As with most human inventions, the first application is to war. AI is going to be used more and more for war fighting, and you can see that with the use of drones, the use of computers for pinpointing enemy targets. And so that, unfortunately, will be its major impact. In terms of its impact for Pakistan, which I think is the most important question before us, I see AI as being basically irrelevant because the bulk of our population relies upon farming. It is not high tech or even at the level of industrialization, significant industrialization. What AI will do to Pakistan, and it worries me, is that it will increase the difference between the haves and the have-nots.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here, and I want to pick up on that point, but we've given you a QR code for you to vote. We're going to repeat this exercise at the end of the session. Can we perhaps have the results so far to see whether you think that it's a betterment or a detriment? And already we are seeing 69% of you, almost 70%, so about 7 of 10 of you thinking it's a betterment. Somebody just voted and slightly changed that. There you go. Thank you for voting, by the way. Detriment, 18%, and 15% don't know. So I'm going to be very honest. I thought this was going to be a narrower margin. So I wonder where you sit on that. Faiza, what do you think of this result so far? Is that what you would have expected from an audience?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
Because again, AI does have a good PR. So, and especially if there are many younger people in the audience, so you will see that a lot of them incline towards newer technologies. People use it every day, be it for the good or the bad. So I can see that people see the use of the tools and also see how they can make things simpler for them. I've seen a lot of students using it, people using it to collate data, making sure that they are understanding concepts correctly. So I think this result is pretty on par with my understanding of the audience.
Really interesting what you say, that we use AI every day. I think sometimes we're now using AI without knowing that we're using AI.
Yeah.
I think we are at a point in all our lives where do we have to embrace it? There's no point if you're against it thinking it's not going to happen. AI is here to stay. And it's a question about how we develop it for the future. Umar?
Yes, and I agree with Faiza. I think I'm also not surprised with the result. But really, I think right now the reason I'm not surprised is because a lot of people are currently using the Gen AI side of it, which is the chat GPTs and the likes of it. And people are actually finding a lot of benefit of using that, both in their personal lives and in their work lives. But I think where I see the change coming now, where the real impact of AI is going to start coming in, and once you have a different audience sitting here, when we have more corporate people sitting here, you'll start seeing even better results, is because now agentic workflows and agent AIs are also coming in, which are actually helping corporates to sort of automate a lot of the processes which were taking up a lot of time, leaving not enough time for humans to use their minds for creativity, for problem solving, for innovation. So I think once these new ways of using AI start coming into the corporate side, I personally think these results will get even better.
Hold that thought, because I am going to ask you a question on that. Faisal, let me bring you in, because you said at the beginning that you are cautious, but you also, I suppose, acknowledge that there's no point in ignoring it, right?
Absolutely. You can't ignore anything in life, anything. Hence, let me tell you that I do feel that the whole agenda of artificial intelligence is hijacked by the global capitalist tech lobby. Because if I just tell you recently what Bill Gates said, and he said, and Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Alphabet, they both said that the governments and the countries, they should be wary of the irrational and over-investment in AI.
Yeah.
And they also said that the AI bubble could potentially be a burst bubble and they are burst cycles seen in the past. The AI global marketplace is 750 billion US dollars. And I would agree with you, sir, that which is the biggest dividend of the global economy. This is the economy of war. The Department of State is now called the Department of War in United States. So when AI is anticipating a growth of 307 trillion US dollars. So just recently, our humanity and society has survived COVID, the largest closure of education after the Second World War. 1.6 billion students across the world out of school. What was the point in presence of ChatGPT, AI, digital equity, digital inclusion, and digital trust? Why did the schools, colleges, and universities around the world opened up? What happened to massive MOOCs, online distance learning courses? The social, human, and the personal quotient cannot be taken away and hijacked. At the moment, this notion and narrative by the tech lobby to replace AI as an instrument to replace humanity and society, for me, it doesn't work. Technology will remain as an enabler, as a facilitator, as a catalyst. You must not remain a servant to emerging technology. You must master the art of technological inclusion. And no one should be able to replace the capacity of the human mind, and we should not ignore the ethical considerations and the erosion of judgment with this practiced global gain of AI benefits. And the last point is that they are saying one notion, one denominator, that it is going to create replacement of efficiency and you don't have to create jobs. So what are you going to do with the global population? How do you meet your global commitment to SDGs and so the United Nations global agenda of growth, prosperity, peace in the planet?
When you say that no one can, in a nutshell, take away the humanity from things, no one should, but does it have the potential to go as far as that? Because it's one thing to say that it shouldn't, and that it can't, and another thing to say that it may.
The people, those who are behind it, they don't believe the divine power of God. They have different ideologies. They feel that technology can replace anything. For them, science is beyond science and beyond fiction. So I would say that they will try. There will be immense destruction of the social contract and the human contract amongst the global committee of nations in the realpolitik. And then after that mass destruction that technology and disruption shall cause, sanity will prevail. But it may take up till 2050.
Faiza, you were nodding before Faiza was making those comments. Please.
Yeah, so I, again, as he mentioned that no matter how much online education that you have, you cannot replace a teacher. You can have a lot of AI in healthcare, but you cannot replace a care provider. At the same time, it requires a lot of oversight. So if you give important decision making to AI and there is no oversight, then again, the way that AI is developed, it's a black box. You know that it is churning a lot of data, creating patterns, and then getting back to you with those answers. If you do not have an oversight, if you do not have ethical guardrails, it can give you really disastrous results. Everybody has heard about ChatGPT being used as a therapist, and it's asking people to off themselves. ChatGPT is not a replacement for mental health therapist or somebody who's, a care provider to you. We have seen a lot of people using it for medical advice and then taking incorrect medication or incorrect dosage. So it's extremely important to make sure that, again, human critical thinking and sanity is there, and there are guardrails around those tools to make sure that they are not harmful to the general population.
Pervez, human critical thinking. I heard you earlier in a session today talking about, the more questions we ask, I think the more we are learning. You feel that with AI, we can be constantly learning. Is that right?
I spend a good fraction of my day doing physics and mathematics calculations, and I use ChatGPT all the time, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I am learning from it. It is enlarging my vision of various branches of, very esoteric branches of physics and mathematics. And at the same time, I'm using it to understand the world around me and get data, social data, which is important for my understanding of this country. For example, if I need to know what were our exports last year versus this year, or what overseas Pakistanis are sending back and so forth. So there's a wealth of information out there, which I use to enrich my knowledge and broaden my view of the world. So yes, it is very much there. But look, this is a tool, and here I will absolutely agree with Faisal Mushtaq on this and the others. Let's consider the introduction of the calculator into classrooms. Now, the calculator is something that you can do addition, multiplication, division, and with big numbers. And yeah, it was thought that this would speed up the learning of students. But in fact, as I have observed, this has slowed down the ability of students to do mental calculations, and hence their grip on even basic algebraic operations. And unfortunately, what I see now is the principal impact of AI is A, it gives you instant answers, damps curiosity, and thus closes off your exploration of other venues. And B, a massive amount of cheating, both by students and their teachers, their professors, who use this as a means for generating publications that are totally nonsensical, plagiarized, and on the basis of which they get promoted. So look, it's something that I am enjoying, and I know that a lot of people are benefiting from. But if you were to judge that in the context of our educational milieu, I am split on this, but I think on the whole negative.
On the question of, for example, ChatGPT and chatbots, for example, because you mentioned something really interesting on how it broadens our world, we learn from it. It's almost like checking an encyclopedia. I'm going to be a bit the devil's advocate here, because if they're not going to disagree with each other, I'm going to have to take on that role. But as a journalist, I've used ChatGPT. I've checked some stories. I fact-checked that I find mistakes.
Yes.
So if we rely on that for our information, are we not being informed incorrectly?
Oh, absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. And were you to, this is really interesting, because a very big school chain asked me to be at one of these beach luxury functions, and it was about AI and education, and so they brought out a big one of those, fancy dress women. She was in a spacesuit, and her name was Zara, and she could answer any question in any language. And she made the claim that we can learn world history. So then I asked her what she thought about the genocide in Gaza. And she froze. Then I asked, what about Hamas's atrocities? And she gave me a whole list of that. So you see, bias is built into how ChatGPT, how these LLMs are configured. And
The bias is built in at the data, when the data is inputted, when you're teaching the AI, right? Okay.
But it's even more insidious than that. Because yes, on the one hand, you have training data. On the other hand, there is a transformer mechanism that goes back. And that transformer mechanism can be used to put in biases.
Yes.
And so, for example, as you know, Elon Musk put out a directive that now things should be opened. And when they were opened, then a lot of hate material against blacks came. And then that had to be closed down. But that's proof that you can program your prejudices into the LLMs.
And we're going to talk about Elon Musk's Grok in a minute. You're also going to get a chance to ask your questions later. But Faiza, I think you were agreeing on sometimes on the misinformation that can come from using some AI tools.
Absolutely. So there are these AI tools scrape massive amount of data from the internet. Internet, we all know, is just a cesspool of nonsense, most of it. So whatever it's scrapping, it's basically processing it, number one. Number two, it's a black box. So you do not understand the transformation, as Dr. Pervez said, that a lot of these transformations are not transparent. And people who are controlling those tools can also introduce bias. So you will see that the general statistics around ChatGPT hallucinating is 2 out of 10 times. So if you ask 10 questions, two times it's going to be incorrect. Number two, these tools are designed to agree with you. So if you have to specifically give it instructions that I want you to contradict me, and that is the instruction it's going to make the tool to contradict you. Otherwise, whatever you will say, it's going to say yes and move from there. So education, creativity, critical thinking does not thrive on yes and. It thrives on somebody saying no and then going from there. So these tools, again, they will create a lot of ease, but at the same time, especially in the context of our country, English is not the language that most of the people know. So it's also going to increase that kind of divide, because there are people who understand English and who can use those tools, and there are people who can't. So they will be left behind because of that.
Faisal, I think you wanted to come in.
Yeah. Technology should extend human potential.
Yeah.
Technology should not replace human presence. I actually never thought about AI as an existential threat to society and humanity until I was invited by the KLF. This invitation made me do a lot of research. And in my opinion, I think that the world is trying to create a new global order. They failed the political order. They failed the United Nations Charter. They failed the Millennium Development Goals. And now they are failing the Sustainable Development Goals. They failed the commitment to climate. They failed the commitment to sustainability. They failed the commitment to poverty. Now they are hijacking culture, identity, and your own originality from a social order to a global digital order. The global digital order, the digital citizenship, is denominated by disruption called AI. I am not fascinated. It will just give you a standardized, biased answer without ethical human consideration, erosion of human judgment, lack of empathy, no use of compassion. This is going to be a tool which is going to take away your culture and your literature, your arts and your humanity. You keep discussing Indus Valley civilization or Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, ChatGPT ain't going to give you that answer. So let's try. I didn't try. Let's ask AI, which is the oldest civilization of the world. We all know that. I hope it gives the right answer. But as far as the biases are concerned, sir, I totally agree with you. There are. And thank you, KLF, for opening my mind as a speaker, if not anyone else's.
Pervez, you don't agree with everything.
Unfortunately, I cannot agree, because I don't think we can put the problems of the world on and put the burden on AI. AI is a tool. It's like a knife, which can be used for, well, in the kitchen, and it can be used for killing. It's one of the very many inventions that humans have made. What we need for the world is empathy, intelligence, and a a mechanism by which we can now address the principal problems of the world, which are, as we see, war, nuclear weapons, global climate change. AI is something peripheral to that. And we cannot say that this is some devilish invention created by the people in the West to undermine us, to make us weaker. It may have that effect eventually, but that will be because we invite AI. Nobody is forcing you to use AI. You use it of your own sweet will. And if you use it well, then you become stronger. You can improve your educational system, and there are very many positive uses of that. But don't blame the problems on AI.
When we are talking about AI, and we've veered, I think, towards chatbots, but there is so much more driverless cars, humanoids. I mean, AI is a much wider concept. Let's talk about jobs, because I heard a word replacement earlier. Umar, perhaps I can bring you in as a businessman, a chief executive of a huge company. What's the situation with AI in the workplace right now?
I think right now, the issue of job losses, in my view, is getting a lot of bad press, but it's not really that big an issue right now, because the problem is not AI. The problem that the AI is trying to solve have always been around. The challenges, whether it was capability issues, whether they were productivity issues. So AI is just a tool, like Professor said. It's a tool which is helping organizations solve problems which were already there. So the problem is not AI. AI is just a tool which the organizations are using to solve those problems. And Pervez mentioned the calculator. There have been many other disruptions since then. The computer came out, then the internet itself. All of those tools that came out led to many jobs being eliminated. And I've seen that happen. I've been working for 35 years.
Some people would argue that many other jobs were also created as a result.
That's my point. So I think we are in early, the scale of this disruption might be much larger, but I believe that there will be many more new jobs that will be created as we go along. Because if organizations, if countries don't adopt AI for improving their productivity, we'll be out of the market. We won't be able to compete with anyone. So we have to adopt these tools, right? We have to adopt these tools. There may be some job losses, but I think it's a question of people being, what I call, learnability has to go up. People have to learn, unlearn, relearn, and that cycle is now getting much faster.
I was going to say it's about a changing market.
Exactly.
And we just need to adapt.
We need to adapt to them.
You are very much at the forefront of equipping women in tech, perhaps for future jobs. I suppose you agree.
I do, absolutely. So AI is going to do a lot of displacements. That is absolutely 100% correct. So if I recall correctly, there are 80,000 jobs went in US in the last 2 years directly impacted by AI. People were let go because there was an AI tool that replaced a human there. In tech, we are seeing massive layoffs since like 2003. Post-COVID correction, market correction, stuff like that. And of course, AI was one of the reasons. So I think 600,000 people lost their jobs in tech. But at the same time, you are seeing that new specialities and new type of work is coming up. And the same is happening for the women that we work with, that now the way that they learn tools is changing very quickly. We are teaching them how to use the tools, but at the same time, for me, safety and ethics should be at the core of it. So these are the things that are really important. So you should use AI, but with a lot of caution and making sure that you are making the most out of it.
Can I just make one point?
Yes,
see, if you look at the data out there, and I was reading a report the other day, it was an IMF report. What it says was that the children which are now Gen Alpha, the jobs that they will be doing don't exist today.
Yeah.
So coming back to your point, I think new jobs will be created, new vocations will be created, and we don't know what they are right now, but they will definitely come out.
Which brings me to an interesting point on education, which we're going to go to in a minute. But Umar, I don't know whether is it your niece?
Yeah.
I don't know whether she's around. Sassy, are you around? I met a fantastic 80-year-old earlier on.
Oh, she's
not here. If she comes, we'll ask her to come on stage. So I wanted to have a question for her.
All right.
Oh, okay. She's chosen one of the other topics over us. But because I wanted to go on to the whole issue of education, and I think we mentioned Elon Musk earlier, but also about humans. And I'm going to put this to the whole panel. For those of you who've been following the news, Grok, for example, which is also a fantastic tool, but it's been misused by certain individuals. It's been very much in the news that some countries have banned the use of Grok because it was creating explicit images. But that was being done by a human who was asking Grok to and then shared by a human. So there is AI, but then there is the human interference and how we use it. Is that a concern? I don't know who would like to take
Can
that.
I start?
Let's just go in order.
Let me just sort of take you slightly back into history. So artificial intelligence as a concept or as a term was coined in 1956. It's not a new term. I heard it for the first time in 1986, and I was fascinated by what was being said. I was an economics student. I had nothing to do with AI. I heard it somewhere in college, and there was this professor, and I was in London. This professor from Oxford was visiting for a public lecture, and it was a philosophy lecture. And when I read the term artificial intelligence, I just walked in to hear him what he was saying. So without getting into details of what he said, where he ended, and which I think is still true, he said that no matter where this goes, because in 86 we didn't know where it was going, the chatbots weren't out there yet. What he said was, no matter what happens, artificial intelligence will never have intentionality and conscience. That will always be with the humans.
And you believe
And I
that to be
believe,
true
I
still?
think it's still true. I think it's still true.
Faiza?
I agree. I agree, because so AI, again, when we talk about AI, it's an umbrella term. So there is artificial narrow intelligence, which is, a robot automating something. Then we have generative AI, which is our large learning models. And then we talk about general AI. So general AI is basically how, if I define it, I would say automation of human consciousness. I believe that this is not something that we are moving towards right now, or this is not something that is achievable maybe in the next few decades, maybe after that. But I agree that still, as you mentioned for Grok, this is a very sensitive topic, especially when we are in Pakistan, and I'm seeing a lot of people talk about it, which is good. But at the same time, Grok is a tool, just like hammer. You can use the hammer to build a house and use a hammer to murder somebody. So people are using it for incorrect reason. But at the same time, the onus is on the builder of the tool also to make sure that there are guardrails and safety around it. And people are not using that tool for undressing women, for undressing children, for creating, explicit content.
Faisal?
The human judgment and the human agency is lacking in this whole algorithm of AI debate, in my opinion, because we can outsource, if we outsource judgment, empathy, creativity, and responsibility, we may gain intelligence, but we lose humanity. And now you talk about, as an educationist, you talk about what is learning. It is the culmination, it is the curation of knowledge, skills, and values. Now, you want to humanize those values, or do you want to dehumanize those values? On one side, you say we need to move towards open learning, transdisciplinary teaching and learning, international baccalaureates. On the other side, you say we need less exams, we need more assessments, we need progression, we need to deal with difference and diversity, we need to deal with individuality. Every child is different. The whole world, you are now seeing rising mental health challenges. Every second person has depression and anxiety and anger issues. Who is going to talk to them? The world, these people behind these technologies, they want, I'm a pretty progressive guy, but I don't know what is happening to me after this debate. I must tell you, they want no jobs for you for the future. We have AI, we have no jobs. They don't want any children to be born in the world. There should be less population and there should be no population in the world. And they don't want to stand any difference and diversity. Can AI on the map of Pakistan give our part of the Kashmir to us? It does not give our part of the Kashmir to us because of those algorithms and information biases. Any use of technology is not forbidden. It is instrumental. It promotes equity. It promotes scale. It promotes sustainability. It promotes social impact. The solution of the world is in everything. It is to humanize, it is to empathize, it is to deal with individuality and individuality together with technology as an integrator, not as a slavery, but as a mastery. So over rational expectations from AI debate and promoting vested interest of all profit-seeking enterprises. What is the future of telecoms? Big bosses are sitting here. They're not going to earn any money on selling SIMs. It's all big data. It is the cloud. It is the big data. When you talk about data, then you talk about data security, integrity, knowledge, education, tech, fintech, edtech, flanatech, this tech. And lastly, today they talk about Gen AI. In the future, they'll say, oh my God, the suicide rates have gone up. So there is HAI, human version of AI. There's an EAI, emotional version of AI. There is DAI, disruptive version of AI. Just like EQ and IQ, emotional intelligence quotient, today they have empathy quotient and digital quotients. So my friends, enjoy the simplicity of life by what we have, the ability to live by able to physically feel, see, explore, and discover. Thank you.
You've just given us you've just given us material for a whole other hour of debate. Let me tell you, I'm going to ask you at the end, because you started saying that you were cautious. I think you're changing your mind during the course of this debate, but we'll come back to you. Pervez.
All right, so listening to this very eloquent exposition, all right, so let's get rid of AI. Will it change the fact that Pakistan has the lowest, most decadent, most ineffective educational system in the world, where we teach our children hatred? We teach them from the very beginning that there's a neighbor out there willing to or ready to devour us. We teach in our schools, as part of our curriculum, that we are embattled. Now, that is not something that AI is telling us to teach. It's something that we are teaching to our children. The fact that our education is, every subject that is taught is done according to what the mullahs want, to the point that even when they teach English or geography or science, they have to bring in religion. You cannot teach evolution in this country. AI is not forbidding you to do so. The fact that Pakistani children have the lowest levels of attainment in reading, writing, comprehension in the whole of South Asia is because what our rulers have done. It's nothing to do with AI. On the other hand, those who will use AI in the future, in the coming few years, they will be students who study at O and A level schools or IB, and they will be the ones who will be holding the reins of power, who will likely migrate to the West. The rest will be fed the usual stuff, which will keep them down to where our rulers want them to be.
Just to add to what Faiz have said, I think this and Dr. Faisal Bari is sitting here. He quoted this numbers some time ago. There's only 50,000 students in Pakistan who are doing O-level and A-levels, and there are millions of kids going to school. And it's those 50,000 kids who are going to be coming into those roles.
Yeah.
What about the rest? They're all being taught what's being discussed. Plus, it's all about rote learning. Where's the critical thinking element? There is no critical thinking in our education system right now.
That's a really interesting topic, and again, one for another debate. Let me ask you something very briefly about schools, and very briefly because I want to move on to another subject. But for example, if you look at Australia, which has banned, and I know social media is a bit of a different topic, but Australia has banned social media for under 16s. France wants to do it possibly for under 15. Spain says it's going to move in that direction. And I find that really interesting because in a world when we're talking about AI is here, that we're talking about learning about development for all our children, should we be banning children from social media? Should we be banning children from platforms? Or should we give them those platforms so that they can develop the skills for what the jobs of the future are? I know everybody wants to come in. Very briefly from everybody.
Yeah, sure. So, no, technology is an enabler. It is a facility. It has to be inclusive. So if you allow children with Chromebooks and you allow machine learning in a regulated way through Google licensing, through Microsoft licensing, these are two major platforms in Pakistan. And like we heard, integrating Khan Academy and other edtech denominators, it's absolutely fine. Allowing the use of social media is different to allowing use of technology. And I don't understand why parents don't understand. This whole thing that we are doing on Facebooks and Instas and Twitters, it's called in educational term doom scrolling, doomsday scrolling. This text neck, it is a disease. So don't think that whether Pakistan will allow or not, it will become a global security and a safety concern for children in school, and it will become a global standard. You will see that in 5 years, this mobile and social media access shall be banned in Pakistan. I can tell you now, because there's excessive use of these tools. But don't compare these TikTokers and Reels for the heels and comparing them with technologies effectively used in an immersive classroom environment, may that be flipped classroom or a multimedia enabled classroom or a smart classroom. So the future of education is smart. The future of education is digitally inclusive to deal with out of school children, to deal with scale and the digital equity. And however, there are certain limitations and challenges by all sectors. So the solution is with no one party, not government. Government has failed, to be frank. They don't have the political will. They have the money, they don't pay the bill, and they don't have the skilled people. And I would suggest
Pervez.
that...
But look, this is then using AI, is not getting rid of AI. Here, I think what the Australians have done and the others have done is perfectly justified. The smartphone should not be allowed into the classroom, but using it, as Faisal Mushtaq said, in a proper classroom environment where you have multimedia, where you have, in fact, the ability to ask questions of AI in the language of your choice. So it is the teacher who could perhaps introduce this, let the students directly address AI, get answers, and use the teacher, actually educate the teacher into using AI as a tool to increase a student's knowledge and curiosity. And the teacher's role is only to have new paths explored by the student.
Faiza?
So the ban of social media for younger kids, I agree with it. I would not give social media to younger kids, my own or anybody else's. At least 13 years is what I think is the justified age. 13, yeah, at least. And then when it comes to AI tools, so I've been teaching for a very long time, computer science, and we use, of course, AI tools in our classroom, but at the same time, we have to adapt. As Dr. Saab said, that we have to make sure that the teacher is there, again, to have those guardrails, and at the same time, students are learning the core principles in the classroom. So in my classroom, we start with conversations, activities, and a lot of these things that students are completely engaged in. They're not using tech at that time, but then we introduce tech for them to play around and explore ideas. So there is a way to include AI and tech and everything in education, but the core principle of teaching is still human connection. It's still the teacher. Your online learning, remote learning.
So you
whatever.
don't think there's going to be a humanoid in the classroom in the future? If we look to the future, is a humanoid going to replace teachers?
No, the human is always going to be in the classroom.
Just digital dopamine. It's drugged. This technology. All the parents are old age. Our parents, they never used technology. They're just stuck with this. The children are sitting, the grandchildren, we are not sitting in the United States and London. Their mom and dad, this is what, they have dopamine. It's a drug. Let me tell you, you all and I, we are victim. If you want your children to be victim, well, we have to come together. We have to talk out of the box, but it's a drug.
Let me put to you a quote, which I came about researching for this session today from Stephen Hawking, who told in an interview once that the development of full AI could spell the end of the human race. And I know that that sounds very, very bleak, but he basically says that humans can't compete with the speed of AI, and therefore could be superseded by AI, that the human race will become obsolete. That's from Stephen Hawking, not from me. So let me start from Pervez and come this way before I open to the
But
floor.
didn't they say that at the time gunpowder was invented?
Everything.
Didn't they say that when nuclear weapons came along? Well, yes, maybe nuclear weapons will end the planet, but they hasn't ended as yet, has it? So therefore, we've got to be optimistic. We've got to make sure that sufficient guardrails, sufficiently strong guardrails are put on AI. Its development is not left just to make people richer, but used to enrich our knowledge and save us from the catastrophes that appear to be that are on the horizon. Now, unguided AI, I agree, is extremely dangerous, but so were the other inventions of humankind, which we have learned to regulate through collective action. The fact that we have the NPT, for example, which is now dying thanks to Donald Trump, but we've had international agreements, and that's what we need more of.
Faisal.
So I think that the emergence and the speed of Gen AI and AI is going to be far more destructive than the strategic minimum credible capabilities of developed nations. Because you see, humanity is denominated by this thing called human mind, which has a brain inside. It's a supercomputer. It has neurons, it has psychological and social aspects. And if you want to destroy a society or a global social contract, you destroy the human mind and the brain. And so we have to remain cautious. There will be a lot of regulation. We did not talk about regulatory. The speed of advancement in AI is far greater than the regulation in the AI industry and the marketplace. And that is where the world needs to rise up. And it is a constitutional subject where the countries need to sign up a global charter. So yes, it will destruct humanity. It will destruct the social contract and humanity, and then it will rebuild back just like any other thing. They said the same 100 years ago. I still remember that in 21st century, 2001, technology shall replace the teacher. That's what they said. It's a quarter of a century gone. No teacher has been replaced by technology. In fact, they are enriching their skills and marketplace.
Faiza?
So again, I agree. Human oversight is something that we need. Regulation is always trying to catch up with the rate of innovation. So again, this is what we need. AI is again disrupting things in a very, very exponential rate. So 5 years ago, nobody have heard about LLMs, and now we are debating about it, and everybody in the room knows about it. So the speed is great, but at the same time, we also need public policy in that. We need guardrails. We need to make sure that the data that is coming is not a violation of copyright, violation of IP. There are a million things that we can do to make sure that the future is bright and better.
Umar?
Yes, so I don't agree with the quote that you read out. I don't think AI will destroy human race. It will disrupt in a big way. And there are two things that we need to be working on. One is the policy side of it. I think that's absolutely essential to make sure that the right data is being sent out and being picked up. The other, I think there's a big responsibility on the education system. Because unless the entire education system gets disrupted very quickly, and we're able to bring out children who are aware of all these challenges and are aware of what the negative side of AI is, they will not be able to play the role, because my generation and the one before me will be gone very soon. I think it's the next generation which is coming in, and it is our responsibility and for us to make sure that the next generation that's coming out. So the question that I always ask myself, and we all need to be asking ourselves, really is, what sort of ancestors do we want to be? And if we want to be ancestors and we want to be seen as ancestors who built a good world, I think it starts from very good education system.
I will come back to you all with one final question, but I'm going to open it to the floor now. I was going to say, do you have any questions? I'm sure you have questions. The question is, do you want to ask us here today? Yes, let's go to this gentleman over there. We're going to get a mic to you. We will bring a mic to you. You just stay there for us. I see lots of hands. We're going to try and get as many questions as possible. Whilst we go to question and answer session, can we just give that, the gentleman who's standing there in the center? Whilst we go to the question and answer session, you have a QR code that we gave you at the beginning. I'm going to ask you to vote again, just in case that you've changed your mind during the course of the debate or not. But please, can I start asking you to vote again on the QR code? If you don't have one, our volunteers have QR codes, and we're going to ask you to vote on whether you think AI in the future is a betterment or a detriment for society.
Firstly, thank you so much for providing an opportunity to ask the questions. It is indeed my privilege to listen to Sir Umar Ahsan Khan once again. He is the one who transited industries. And being a corporate leader, sir, I would like to ask a few questions which was knocking in my mind since long. As a business leader, what should not automate with... My first question is, what should not automate with AI? Thank you so much.
What should not be automated with AI? I think every process where a human judgment is required should never be given to AI. Companies, for example, are using AI for shortlisting candidates, but I think end of the day there are a number of things that there are a number of contexts that need to be seen. So any process in a corporate environment where a human judgment is essential should never be given to AI alone.
Let's go over there to this young fellow. Yes, the one in the red cap. Yeah.
Question is that if we are AI to take over, or if AI is just growing over us and intelligent, and we are allowing it.
AI, are we allowing AI? Sorry, we lost the microphone. Did you get it? Are we allowing AI to do what?
If we are allowing AI to grow over us and instead going under AI and letting AI control us.
Okay, letting AI control us. Pervez. Are we allowing AI to get to the point where it's controlling us and we are not controlling AI?
Well, that is an ever-present danger because different AI systems can talk to each other in a language that you and I cannot understand. That would be machine language, which even in principle is not interpretable by us. So you could imagine a situation where different AI systems conspire to take over human civilization and replace humans with creations of their own. And that's a job for sci-fi writers. I think there is a possibility, it cannot be ruled out, but it doesn't seem possible. It doesn't seem plausible, although it is possible.
We have a lot of questions. I'm going to come to you next, but I've got another young person in the audience who wants to ask a question. Please go ahead.
Hello, yes, I'm Diane Shafi from FWS BTK branch. So, basically, I just had one question related to the topic. So, basically, what if we could use AI to intentionally physically develop human beings into a branched out species, such as stated by Harari's theories as well, Homo Deus, all that.
So the question is, can we use AI to enhance the species? Does anybody want to take that?
Oh. Yeah, sorry, what did you say that AI will?
AI, using AI for improving human beings.
Excuse me?
Advanced form of human beings, like a Homo Deus.
Interesting. So first thing is that I know you and you're attending a good school and I'm the CEO of that school. So it's a very good, why don't you answer? Conflict of interest.
So again, using AI for evolving humans in some capacity, I think we should. It's possible in terms of medical science, in terms of physical health, in terms of a lot of other things. But at the same time, in terms of changing people into humanoids or changing people into a new species, I don't think AI is capable of that right now. In the future, who knows? I hope I'm dead by then, but yeah.
I think in the future, anything's possible. You look back at the past, there are so many things that we never thought would be
Yeah.
possible.
Actually, I think that raises a question which is much larger than AI itself. And the issue is whether one can grow life in the laboratory. And the answer is yes.
Let's go.
Primitive forms of life have been grown in the laboratory. We have been able to synthesize from basic atoms amino acids. We don't know how exactly they have transformed into RNA and later into DNA. But when we find that process, then guiding that chemical process through AI into whichever form of life we want will, in the next century or so, become possible.
We're in the last few minutes of our session. Can I please ask you to vote on the QR code, a betterment or detriment?
Yes. As I understand the discussion and summarize it in my mind.
Can you just hold the mic closer?
Yeah. So my understanding for the summary of the discussions would be that the shortcomings of the AI tool that the panel has very rightfully pointed out are in the real world, real problems with real consequences. If I request you just for one moment to go in an idealistic view with the will, the right intentions, and the power to address these, which can be addressed, training for the users how to use the tool, to give the tool the right information and the right data and point it to the historical facts. Do you still see any issues with something fundamentally wrong with AI, or is it just how the humans are using it and how the humans are getting us to use the tool?
Faiza?
So if we live in an ideal world where there are guardrails, where there are safety and the tools are made to, do the things the right way, I do not see anything fundamentally wrong with the tool itself. AI is, again, as I said, you can use the hammer to build a house or kill somebody. So if the tool is not optimized for human use, it's not safety conscious, people are using, as mentioned by my, fellow panelists, that with a capitalist mindset to making sure that they're stealing data, scraping information, just the wealthy is getting wealthier. If we remove all of that, and if you look at artificial intelligence as just a tool, there's nothing wrong with it.
I know we have a lot of questions, so we are going as quickly as we can.
Yeah,
Please.
good evening. Thank you. So history has always rewarded societies that have learned how to use powerful tools effectively. The greatest example of this is the Ottoman Empire, who refused to use the printing press because they regarded it as blasphemous. Of course, blasphemy was only a pretext. They did not want their civilization to revolt. As a result, the European civilization, they made advancements in every field, and the Ottomans just went back ages. But AI is AI the exception to that hypothesis? Because as Mr. Hoodbhoy just said, AI is and will be continues to use for war making. And considering that, will I be safer in a society or as a part of a society in Dubai or Silicon Valley or Australia, or would I be safer in a place such as Papua New Guinea or Nepal, where there is no AI implementation? To just put it in a nutshell, will AI the people who utilize it? So is AI the anti-hypothesis to the fact that...
Sorry, will AI finish the people who utilize it?
No, will the societies who implement and powerful tool, which is in this case, will they be punished as opposed to in the past people were rewarded for utilizing that tool?
Okay, I knew you would want to take this one.
I mean, that's you have answered your whole question yourself as well. But I mean, it's too complicated and complacent. I'll request maybe Dr. Hoodbhoy. But I would, just on a lighter note, मैं AI को तब मानूंगा जब AI कराची के मैनहोल्स का मसला हल कर देगा कि जो पाकिस्तान के गटर के ढकने अगर ये टेक्नोलॉजी ठीक कर देगी तो I will say yes. Maybe you can take another question.
I'm being told that our time is up, so let me go very quickly here.
My name is Mohammad Usman Malik. I am from class 3. I want to ask question to Sir Faisal Mushtaq. Can I use AI in my age.
Yeah, can I use AI in my
In
age?
his age, yeah.
Of course you can do it. AI so far has no cultural, class, and age boundaries. You're most welcome to use artificial intelligence, but in presence of your parent, guardian, and with adult monitoring of screen time. Screen times is very important because of this attention span in classrooms is no more than 10 minutes now. Teachers have to become very minimalistic in the lesson planning.
There is so much more that we would want to discuss. Thank you for voting. Can we take a look at the results of how you voted today, Betterment or Detriment? And actually,
Oh boy.
this is really, really exciting because the results have changed during the last hour. Faisal, you've done your job really well, which just highlights the point that there is so much more that we need to be talking about AI, and hopefully we can have more debates like this. So many, many thanks to the Karachi Literature Festival. I'm told have I lost? Can you still hear me? Yeah, we can have 5 more minutes. I think there was a question from this lady here. So can we bring back the mic? It's been so interesting that we've been given an extra 5 minutes. Thank you. I hope you can indulge us for an extra 5 minutes. Okay, I was going to go to the lady in front of you, but you asked first and she can go second.
It's Nasir Sumro. I am very much a user of AI, but I know that there is unregulation of the AI, and whether this particular genie is going to be ever bottled down, or it will be completely unregulated, and there will be a lot of casualties because of AI. Because I heard that a woman married a robot, AI robot in Japan, so there are casualties there as well. So I am just getting to know whether there will be optimistic regulation of AI or not.
Okay, who wants to go? No?
No, regulation. Yeah.
Regulation is the key. If they would have had invested more on regulation than advancement, we would not be discussing this, what we are discussing today. It's like anything. James, you work in media. Without regulatory environment, even media would not know what are the considerations for ethical and appropriate judgments. So regulation, governance, policy, they are the key three denominators for the future of sustainable AI.
Yes.
Let's go to another question here.
A woman, no woman has asked a question.
We've got a woman on the microphone, but we don't have the microphone working. Yeah.
Okay. So my question is that we didn't talk about sustainability and its effect, AI's negative environment. Like, it can a lot of water and carbon emission.
Yeah.
So we didn't talk about that. So
It was on my list, but we didn't have time because it's also really interesting, the vast amount of energy and electricity that's used when you are teaching the data or loading the data onto AI. So there are environmental concerns.
So the data centers right now are actually becoming larger and larger, and they are using a lot of energy. And unfortunately, this is a conversation which is not really on the agenda of a lot of sustainability conferences. And I think this is a very important area which absolutely needs a lot of focus, because while the world is warming up, there's already conversations about changing that 1.5 degree target to 2 or 2.5 degrees. We've already seen what 1.5 degree has done, and these data centers are going to actually become a very large contributor, and no one is actually really talking about this.
But it is a really, really good point, and definitely one for another debate. I've got time for another question. Did we have
James? I think we shouldn't get fixated on one point, that AI is everything that the world revolves around. Sustainability is extremely important, but what could make the world sustainable? First of all, you've got to decrease the rate of population growth. In fact, you've got to not only level it off, but at some point you've got to start decreasing, because the amount of resources that are consumed is proportional to A, how many people there are, and B, how much can they consume. AI is peripheral to this. We should not be connecting everything to just one dot.
Let's go over here. Do we have this lady here? Yep. Okay. Okay.
Hi there.
We'll get both in quickly.
Hi there, I'm Pihu, and I'm from Roos Millennium School, Barrier Town, Karachi. And my CEO is sitting right here, Faisal Mushtaq, and
So
he did a very good job. But the real question is that why does AI exist? And ChatGPT is my buddy. Gemini is also my buddy, but they make mistakes.
They make mistakes. Why does AI make mistakes? Which is, I think, what we were talking about earlier. Let's go to this woman here. Yep. Final question.
Hi, I think AI has the great ability to bridge gaps between the underprivileged to have access to technology, to information which they may not, which like we know the quality of teachers in public schools and a lot of private schools too. So isn't this debate a bit elitist to say that, to just, it's detrimental and it should not be there perhaps, versus where there's so many people who can maybe, make use of it so much more and benefit a lot more from it?
Yes, I agree with you there. I think it's a huge enabler. And I think our real it has actually democratized information, which is what the world really needed. I think the real challenge is whether we use it wisely or not, and that's where the worry is coming in. It's not about not having AI, and I'm very clear on that one. I think it has democratized information. I think how we convert that information into knowledge and then wisdom is where we are worrying. And I think that's where I go back to my earlier point. I think the education system will actually have to play a huge role in
just,
very briefly.
Just one briefly. No one is against it. It's a debate. And based on Doha debate's theme, they should not have used the word detrimental.
Yeah.
They should have used the word limitations. So clearly the future is inclusive. However, everyone has the perspective, and we must live with difference and diversity. That's what KLF teaches us.
Pervez?
I think we need to be very clear that AI will have different impacts upon different peoples in Pakistan. It will have no impact on the rickshawala, on the taxi driver, on the laborer in the fields, of those who work in the sewers of Karachi or other cities. They will be unaffected. They will not be displaced by AI. No machine is going to do their job. The class structure of society is such that the bulk of people are disenfranchised. They will be even more disenfranchised when those at the top become more powerful as a result of being able to use AI for their benefit. So unless we consciously direct our energies, our attention to those at the bottom of the social pyramid, and that bottom is huge, they're just 5% at the top of this pyramid, the 95% are down there, 60% of whom will be utterly unaffected by AI or whatever new developments occur in AI.
And on that topic, we hope that you will continue discussing this at home, in the courtyard with us. We're going to stay around for a while, but it's been a fascinating debate. We've agreed, we've disagreed, but I think above all, we've spoken openly, which is very, very important for this AI debate. Can I please ask you to give a warm round of applause to Umar, Ahsan Khan, Faisal, Mushtaq, Faiza, Yousuf, and Pervez Hoodbhoy for joining us in the debate today. And a big thank you to the Karachi Literature Festival for having me as moderator. It's been a fantastic event. Thank you for joining us here today. Thank you.
Thank you.